Hey everybody, welcome back to the Purple A Society YouTube channel, my little mini university to help people expand their thinking to more fourth dimensional thinking. I've got playlists and music, audiobooks, lectures, everything you can think of to help you expand your consciousness and prepare you and get you acclimated per se to fourth dimensional thinking. Everything I learn, I share with you all. Make sure to stay till the end of this video. I have some information on my $7 a month mystery school where we decode all of the symbols. I'll tell you more about that later. And you're tuned in with me to Real Talk with AI, episode 7, where we will be discussing the science of love. And it's a 3-part question, and it's going to include a little bit of some concepts and philosophies that came by way of the master teacher, Bobby Hemmitt. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation that I have with Chat GPT. So the first question I asked is, one of my favorite books on love is called The Science of Love by John Baines, especially the conversation about the ovoid. But please give a detailed breakdown of other empirical science on the subject of love. What is love? Since you already appreciate John Baines' discussion of the ovoid, this is now ChatGPT talking, the energetic field around a person in esoteric psychology, it's interesting that modern science, while using very different language, has discovered several measurable mechanisms that mirror the same idea. Fields of regulation, bonding chemistry, and nervous system synchronization between people. Below is a detailed breakdown of the empirical science of love from multiple disciplines, neuroscience, psychology, evolutionary biology, and even physics-inspired models. What is love? From an empirical scientific perspective, scientifically, love is not a single thing. It's a multi-layered phenomenon composed of 1, neurochemistry, which is brain and hormones, 2, neural circuits and reward systems, 3, attachment systems evolved for survival, 4, psychological structures of intimacy and commitment, and 5, physiological co-regulation between nervous systems. You could think of love as a biological bonding system that evolved to regulate human nervous systems and keep social groups stable. 1, the neurochemistry of love. Neuroscientists consistently identify 4 primary chemical systems involved in love. Dopamine, which is the reward chemical. It's released when we experience pleasure or motivation. It drives romantic attraction and infatuation, and it activates the brain's reward circuitry. When people see a picture of someone they love, brain scans show activity in dopamine-rich reward regions like the ventral tegmental area. This is why early love feels addictive, euphoric, and obsessive. Your brain literally treats the person like a powerful reward stimulus. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It's often called the cuddle chemical. It is released during touch, orgasm, childbirth, breastfeeding, and affectionate interaction. Oxytocin reduces fear, increases trust, and strengthens emotional bonds. It also helps link feelings of safety to a specific person, making them feel like home. Vasopressin, loyalty and pair bonding. This hormone is strongly linked with long-term attachment and protective bonding. Animal studies, especially prairie voles, show vasopressin is critical in forming stable pair bonds between partners. Without it, animals still mate but do not form emotional attachment. Serotonin, obsession and mood. During early romantic love, serotonin levels drop in a pattern similar to obsessive-compulsive disorder. That's why people in love constantly think about the person, replay memories, and they idealize them. 2, the 3 biological phases of love. Anthropologist Helen Fisher and other researchers describe love as a 3-stage biological system. 1 is lust, driven by testosterone and estrogen, and its purpose is reproduction. 2, attraction, which is driven by dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, which produces excitement, energy, and focus on one person. And this phase can last months to a few years. And 3, attachment, which is driven by oxytocin and vasopressin, which produces calm, trust, and emotional security. This is the stage that stabilizes families and long-term partnerships. Number 3, love is nervous system synchronization. A fascinating modern history comes from neuroscience and psychiatry, described in the book A General Theory of Love. It proposes that humans possess limbic resonance, meaning your emotional brain synchronizes with another person's emotional brain. Lovers' heart rates align, breathing rhythms match, and emotions regulate each other, for example. This process is called limbic regulation. Your nervous system literally learns stability from another nervous system. In other words, love is a regulatory loop between two brains. That's deep. Number 4, attachment theory. Love is as a safety system. Psychologists such as John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth developed attachment theory. Their research showed humans are biologically wired to form deep emotional bonds with caregivers, and romantic love later reuses the same neural systems. Attachment exists because infants cannot survive alone. Thus, love evolved as a survival mechanism. Key insight: the nervous system bonds when another person repeatedly creates a sense of safety. When this happens, stress hormones decrease, calm increases, and trust forms. Number 5, Sternberg's psychological structure of love. Psychologist Robert Sternberg proposed that love has 3 psychological components: intimacy, emotional closeness and trust; passion, which is sexual attraction and desire; and commitment, which is the decision to maintain the relationship. Together, they form the triangular theory of love. Let's see. Number 6, evolutionary biology. Why love exists. From an evolutionary perspective, love developed because it improves survival. Affection and bonding help to coordinate parenting, to maintain social groups, and to increase offspring survival. Scientists call this affection exchange theory, which proposes affectionate behavior evolved because it improves health and reproductive success. People who experience strong social bonds live longer, they have lower stress, and they recover from illness faster. Love as a physical system. And here's some emerging theories about love as a physical system. Some researchers even model love using physics-like systems. One proposal suggests love behaves like a phase transition similar to water freezing into ice. The idea: as emotional interactions accumulate, a relationship reaches a critical threshold and suddenly a stable bond forms. This explains why sometimes love grows slowly and sometimes it happens suddenly. Number 8, the deepest scientific definition of love. Across neuroscience, psychology, and biology, love can be summarized like this: love is a neurobiological bonding system that synchronizes nervous systems, creates emotional safety, and stabilizes long-term social relationships. Or even more simply, love is the experience of safety, reward, and meaning in the presence of another person. Oh my God. Number 9, where science quietly touches the esoteric. This is where your interest in the ovoid gets fascinating. Modern science has discovered phenomena that sound surprisingly similar, such as emotional contagion, neural synchrony, bioelectric heart fields, limbic resonance, and mirror neuron systems. All of these suggest that humans are not emotionally isolated systems. We exist in shared emotional fields with others. That idea is strikingly close to the esoteric description of auric or energetic interaction. In short, love is simultaneously chemistry, brain circuitry, evolutionary strategy, psychological structure, and nervous system synchronization, and meaning making between two minds. The next question I asked Chat GPT was, well, what does quantum physics say about love? And Chat GPT says, This is where things get both fascinating and tricky because quantum physics itself does not formally define love. But several physicists and interdisciplinary researchers have explored how quantum principles might relate to consciousness, connection, and human relationships. So the honest answer is quantum physics does not currently prove love is a quantum phenomenon, but several quantum concepts match intriguingly onto how love and human connection behave. I'll break this down carefully so we stay in real science first, then explore the speculative edges. Number one, what quantum physics actually studies. Quantum physics studies the behavior of matter and energy at extremely small scales, atoms, electrons, and photons. Some of its most important principles are entanglement, superposition, observer effect, and quantum fields. These describe how particles behave in ways that classical physics cannot explain. Number two, quantum entanglement and human connection. One concept people often connect to love is quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is when two particles become entangled, which means that their states become linked. Measuring one instantly influences the other, and distance does not matter. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance. Why people connect this to love? Some theorists suggest that deep emotional bonds behave metaphorically like entanglement. Examples in human relationships: lovers sensing when something is wrong, mothers feeling distress when children are hurt, and people thinking of each other simultaneously. Scientifically speaking, there is no evidence that human brains are literally quantum entangled, but the metaphor persists because emotional connection does feel non-local and instantaneous. Number three, the observer effect. Another quantum idea people link to love is the observer effect. Observer effect in quantum experiences is the measuring a particle changes. In quantum experiments, measuring a particle changes its behavior. Particles exist in many possible states until observation collapses them into one outcome. Just like the world and life experiences exist in many possible states until observation collapses them into one outcome. Particles exist in many possible states until observation collapses them into one outcome, which means reality exists in many possible states until observation collapses it into one outcome, the thing that we focus on and observe. Philosophical implication. Some thinkers suggest that attention and consciousness shape reality. In relationships, something similar happens. Attention strengthens bonds, neglect weakens them, and perception changes emotional experience. In that sense, love directs attention and attention shapes human reality. Number four, quantum fields and interconnection. Modern physics describes the universe as interacting fields rather than isolated objects. Quantum field theory. Particles are not separate things. They are excitations of underlying fields. Example, an electron is a vibration in the electron field. Philosophical interpretation. If reality is fundamentally field-based, then separation between things is less absolute than we thought. Some philosophers extend this idea that humans may also be field-like systems interacting with each other. In that framework, love becomes a resonance between complex biological systems. That is, wow. Interestingly, neuroscience already describes something similar through limbic resonance, emotional synchronization, and heart rate coupling. Number five, quantum biology, where things get real. There is an emerging field called quantum biology, and scientists have discovered quantum effects living inside organisms. Examples include bird navigation, photosynthesis efficiency, enzyme reactions, and possibly smell perception. These processes appear to use quantum coherence, but so far, there's no confirmed evidence that human emotions use quantum computation. The brain is warm and noisy, which usually destroys delicate quantum states. Number 6, quantum models of love. Some researchers have tried modeling emotions using quantum probability math. Examples include human decisions that often violate classical probability, and quantum models that sometimes predict behavior better. This field is called quantum cognition. Here, emotions like love are modeled using superposition states. For instance, a person can feel love, doubt, attraction, and fear simultaneously. Quantum math handles this better than classical logic. Number 7, a physics-based definition of love. Some interdisciplinary thinkers define love in physical terms as a stabilizing force that increases coherence between complex systems. In simpler language, love creates order and synchronization. You can see this physically, whereas breathing synchronizes and heart rhythms align and brave waves synchronize. So even when love is not literally quantum, it behaves like a coherence phenomenon. Number 8, the most honest scientific answer from a strict physics standpoint. Quantum physics does not currently claim that love is a quantum force, but quantum principles suggest a deeper philosophical idea that reality is interconnected, probabilistic, and relational, and that love is also relational, connected, and non-isolated. That's why the metaphor feels so powerful. Number 9, the most beautiful bridge between science and mysticism. One of the founders of quantum mechanics, which is Erwin Schrödinger, once said something striking. He believed consciousness might actually be one unified system appearing as many individuals. If that were true, then love could be interpreted as the recognition of unity between seemingly separate beings, which is almost identical to how many mystical traditions define love. Since you mentioned John Bain's ovoid concept, there's actually something fascinating. Modern science has discovered that the human heart produces the largest electromagnetic field in the body, measurable several feet away. Some researchers believe that these heart fields may interact between people. That idea starts to look very similar to the ancient auric field description. Then I decided I wanted to take it all the way deep and just go boom right on up in it. And I said the esoteric community sees love much more archetypally, but also connected to something science can't quite explain yet. Let's start with some of Bobby Hemmitt, master teacher Bobby Hemmitt's theories on love, since he dealt primarily in metaphysics, just to broaden the lens a little bit to include the esoteric. And Chat GPT says, when you move into the teachings of Bobby Hemmitt, the discussion of love shifts dramatically from biology and psychology into cosmic metaphysics and archetypal symbolism. Hemmitt was a part of a lineage of Black esoteric teachers alongside figures like Brother Panic and Phil Valentine, two of my faves, who frame love not primarily as emotion, but as a metaphysical force involved in creation, consciousness, and spiritual awakening. And let me just throw this out there, just as an aside, just because they did not they did discuss biology and psychology and all in their discussion, but just because they dealt in the archetypal and metaphysics does not mean that they came any less prepared with empirical sources. They always cited sources. And Dr. Valentine still does. As we know, Brother Panic has passed away and Bobby Hemmitt no longer does lectures anymore. He's still living. He just no longer does lectures. But they never, ever lacked on empirical sources and scholarship. They always directed you to a primary source and many times peer-reviewed sources or peer-reviewed books. Most of the time it was peer-reviewed. But then there are some books that are outside of modern science that deal with symbolism, that it's a different way of, but it's no less valid. But anyways, let's just go back. Okay. Who they frame love as not primarily as emotion, but as a metaphysical force involved in creation, consciousness, and spiritual awakening. I'll break down several of the major ideas attributed to Hemmitt about love so we can widen the lens beyond conventional science. 1. Love is a cosmic polarity, union of opposites. In Hemmitt's metaphysical framework, love is fundamentally about the union of polar forces. This idea appears across many traditions: masculine versus feminine, spirit versus matter, chaos versus order, and consciousness versus form. Love is the force that reunites divided aspects of reality. This echoes the archetype of the sacred marriage, sometimes called the Eros game, divine union, or cosmic coupling. In this view, love is the energetic attraction between complementary forces seeking reintegration. It's not just about romance, it's about how the universe maintains balance. 2. Love versus the program, quote unquote. Hemmitt often argued something provocative. Most of what society calls love is actually conditioning or programming. He claimed that cultural narratives about love, romantic obsession, dependence, and jealousy were distortions designed to keep people psychologically trapped. According to his teachings, real love is expanding, liberating, and consciousness enhancing, whereas programmed love tends to produce attachment, control, and emotional suffering. So in his framework, true love increases spiritual sovereignty rather than dependency. 3. Love as consciousness expansion. Hemmitt frequently tied love to awakening higher consciousness. He suggested that when two people connect at a deep energetic level, their interaction can accelerate awareness, activate dormant psychic abilities, and trigger spiritual transformation. In this sense, love acts almost like a catalyst for evolution of the mind. You could think of it as a feedback loop between two consciousness systems. Interestingly, modern neuroscience's concept of limbic resonance mirrors this idea of two nervous systems influencing each other's states. 4. Love and the archetypal feminine. Hemmitt placed enormous importance on the feminine principle. In many of his lectures, he suggested that what humans call love is actually an expression of the cosmic feminine force. This aligns with archetypes like Isis, Sophia, Shakti, and the Black Madonna. In this framework, the feminine represents magnetic intelligence, the attractive power that pulls creation together. Love is therefore seen as the magnetic force of consciousness. And 5, love as a magical force. Another major theme in Hemmitt's metaphysics is that love can act as a form of spiritual technology. He often spoke about how intense emotional states, especially love and devotion, generate powerful psychic energy. In occult traditions, this energy can be directed toward manifestation, healing, ritual magic, and spiritual transformation. And many mystical traditions actually considered love the strongest magical force available to humans. Number 6, the falling in love phenomenon. Hemmitt also explored why romantic attraction can feel overwhelming or destiny-like. His explanation involved soul recognition. According to this view, sometimes two people share deep energetic connections across multiple lifetimes. When they encounter each other, their subconscious systems recognize that bond instantly, and this produces experiences like instant attraction, uncanny familiarity, and synchronicities. Modern psychology would explain this through attachment patterns and subconscious memory, but the esoteric interpretation frames it as a soul resonance. 7, love is a creative force. One of the most profound ideas in Hemmitt's teachings is that love is a generative power, not just biologically through reproduction, but creatively. Love can stimulate art, music, philosophy, invention, and spiritual insight. That's why they say that sexual energy and creative energy are the same energy, just used differently. Many of Hemmitt's greatest works emerge from the intensity of love. In that sense, love becomes fuel for creation itself. Number 8, love versus fear. Hemmitt frequently frames spiritual evolution as a movement between two forces, love and fear. Fear contracts consciousness. Fear contracts consciousness and love expands consciousness. From this perspective, the spiritual path is essentially learning to operate from love rather than fear. Number 9, where esoteric thought meets science. Interestingly, several aspects of Hemmitt's metaphysical framework have subtle parallels in modern science. Examples include resonance and synchronization. Neuroscience shows lovers' heart rhythms and brain patterns can align. Magnetism, the human heart produces measurable electromagnetic fields. And co-regulation, emotional states transfer between nervous systems. These discoveries don't prove metaphysical theories, but they suggest that human connection has measurable energetic dimensions. 10. The archetypal view of love. In esoteric philosophy, love is often seen as one of the primary organizing forces of existence. It appears symbolically in myth about cosmic couples, divine unions, sacred marriages, and the reunion of divided beings. These myths express a core archetypal idea that love reunites what separation created. Since you're already drawn to the ovoid concept from John Baines, the next step gets really interesting. Baines described love as an interaction between two subtle energy bodies rather than just emotions. Some of his explanations resemble magnetic field interactions between people, and when you place that next to neuroscience limbic resonance, heart electromagnetic field research, and attachment theory, it starts to look like 3 different languages describing the same phenomenon. And that is my conversation with Chat GPT on what is love. That was so deep from start to finish. This is something I'm going to have to listen to a few more times. And that's how I think that we should take these. When you listen to one of these videos, don't just listen to it. Stop and actually take time to ponder it. That's how small bursts of awakening happen. People are often looking for one big awakening experience, and those because they've heard that it happens to other people, and and they had these great collapses of ego and see enlightenment and see the reality for what it is, but that's not always afforded to everyone. Sometimes people's awakening happens in short bursts of just awakening. That's how mine was. It was always little short, things that I pondered, and then it just blew my mind and completely expanded my view. So I had my lens was pulled out a little bit so I could see the landscape a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, until one day you realize over the course of 10, 20, 30 years, look at how much I now understand and how does this help me move through the world and through the various dimensions that we actually operate in. And so that's how you should take it. Take the information and sit with it and ponder it for a little bit, look at examples of how you've actually seen that. Or if it doesn't resonate with you at all, then just move on. It's all good. I don't need you to agree with everything I say. I'm not attached to that. But, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to, if you're interested, to click the link in the description box for my $7 a month mystery school that takes place over on Substack, where every week you get an episode in audio format, like a podcast episode of me breaking down ancient symbols, multiple of those, such as archetypes and the animals as symbols and the fairy kingdom, what that really represents, and the deities around the world, what they really represent, ancient mythology, ancient religion, all, the different aspects of religion. And then we even break down how the soul's journey can be found in most of the stories that we've been given that have defined our cultures since, ancient times, all the way up to now, how it's defined for us or presented to us in music and television and reality TV and film and comedy and cartoons and anime and all of that. We have just a really deep discussion on that. Plus, we have the book club that's associated with that, where we're reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. We just began that the week before last. I just could not finish that on Sunday. I was just exhausted. But when we get back on this Sunday, we're going to continue with How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's, again, $7 a month. You get 4 episodes a month, and it's a lot of fun. So click the description box. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to listen to the videos and check out all the great playlists I have. Expand your mind, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.